All right, today we're tackling a big one. We're diving into Yuval Noah Harari's Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. And let me tell you, this book is a seriously mind-bending look at where we, as a species, might be headed next. So Harari kicks things off with this really powerful image. He says humanity is basically waking up from the collective nightmare that was the 20th century. And his whole point is that for the first time in history, we've actually gotten a grip on the ancient enemies that have been chasing us for thousands of years. I mean, think about it. For pretty much all of human history, our agenda was dominated by the exact same three problems: famine, plague, and war. We just saw them as inevitable, uncontrollable facts of life. But now, in what is a crazy historical first, we've turned them from these huge cosmic tragedies into manageable technical problems. And just look at what's replaced them. And if you want a stat that really puts this into perspective, get this. For the first time ever, more people die from eating too much than from eating too little. Obesity, which is a problem of having too much, now affects over 1 billion people. Famine, on the other hand, is becoming incredibly rare. Our triumph over plague is, frankly, even more incredible. Just take a look at smallpox. In 1967, it killed 2 million people. 2 million! Just 12 years later, it was declared completely, totally eradicated. We didn't just control it, we literally wiped it off the face of the earth. Our ancestors couldn't have even dreamed of that. And what about war? Now, Harari is very clear here. He's not saying violence is gone, but on a global scale, it's just not the norm anymore. We live in a world where sugar is actually more dangerous than gunpowder, and that leads to this unbelievable fact. Suicide now takes more lives than all forms of violent conflict. Soldiers, terrorists, criminals, all of them put together. Okay, so with these ancient enemies more or less defeated, humanity is in a totally new position. For the very first time, we have to ask ourselves a new question. What do we do now? What's next? And Harari argues we're already setting our sights on a new and way more ambitious agenda. And this new to-do list? Well, it's nothing short of godlike. Harari breaks it down into 3 huge projects. First, overcoming old age and death. Second, engineering universal happiness. And third, upgrading Homo sapiens into Homo Deus, which literally means human god. Now, let's be clear about this first one. The goal isn't really immortality, like in a superhero movie. It's something he calls immortality. This means you wouldn't die from cancer or a heart attack anymore, but you could still get hit by a truck. Your life wouldn't have a natural expiration date. Just think about what that would do to marriage, to your career, to everything. As Harari points out, it would probably make us the most anxious people in history. And don't for a second think this is just science fiction. No way. The biggest names in tech are pouring billions of dollars into this exact quest. Google, for instance, started a whole company called Calico with the stated mission to, quote, solve death. And you can see right here, Bill Morris from Google Ventures says living to 500 is now a real possibility. Okay, so we've got immortality on the list. But what about the second goal, happiness? Well, this is where things get really complicated. It turns out that being wealthy and safe doesn't automatically make you happy. In fact, Harari points to this really disturbing trend where suicide rates are often way, way higher in rich, peaceful countries than in poor ones. And this leads to a really crucial insight. Our sense of well-being, our happiness, it's not really determined by what's happening around us. From a biological point of view, happiness is just a bunch of pleasant sensations floating around in our bodies, all managed by our internal biochemistry. So the search for happiness becomes a technical, biochemical challenge, not an economic one. So this drive to engineer our bodies and our minds, it leads us straight into the huge paradox at the very heart of this book. The same technologies we're creating to upgrade ourselves into gods, things like AI and biotech, could, at the very same time, make most of humanity completely irrelevant. They could destroy the very humanist values that got us started on this path. To really get this, Harari says you have to understand something fundamental about yourself. You are not one person. You're split. You have an experiencing self, which is your moment-to-moment consciousness. And then you have a narrating self, which is the storyteller in your head that makes sense of the past and makes all the big plans. So
Who's in charge? Who's in the driver's seat? It's the narrating self. And here's the crazy part. It's a terrible judge of our actual happiness. It only remembers two things about an event: the most intense moment and how it ended. The actual duration of pain or pleasure, it just ignores it. This means your narrating self will happily sacrifice your present happiness just to create a better story to tell later.
This whole idea of a split self ties into another core concept, that we and all other living things are ultimately just organic algorithms. Our feelings, our thoughts, our choices, they're all just the product of millions of years of evolutionary calculations designed to help us survive and reproduce. And that idea, well, it leads to a really, really chilling conclusion for the modern world. For big institutions like armies or corporations, what they value is our ability to process data or intelligence. They don't actually need our feelings, our consciousness, right? An AI doesn't need to feel anything to drive a car or diagnose a disease better than a human can.
And the implication here is profound. As we keep letting external algorithms, Google, Amazon, you name it, monitor our biometric data, our search history, every single click, they'll start to understand the organic algorithms inside us. Pretty soon, a non-conscious algorithm could know what you want better than your own narrating self does. And that makes the whole idea of free will kind of obsolete.
Harari says what we're seeing here isn't just a tech shift, it's the next great religious revolution. For thousands of years, authority came from the gods. Then, with the rise of humanism, authority shifted to human feelings. Listen to your heart. Now, we're seeing a third massive shift. Authority is moving away from humans and toward algorithms and big data. And this new emerging religion, it has a name. Harari calls it dataism. It's a worldview that sees the entire universe as just a flow of data. And in this view, humans aren't sacred. We're just data processing tools. Our whole cosmic purpose is just to help create a more efficient system, the internet of all things. And in a way, we're already living this every time we instinctively share our experiences online, right? We're just feeding the system. And like any good religion, dataism has its own commandments. Because the flow of information is its highest value, the rules are pretty simple. Connect to more media and produce and consume more information. The greatest sin in dataism? To be a wall, to block the flow of data. And that leaves us with this final, profound, and maybe a little unsettling question from Harari. Is our ultimate purpose as a species just to build our successor, this all-knowing, all-powerful data system, and then, once our job is done, just merge into that data stream and disappear? That's the question Homo Deus leaves us with.